most people search for dramatic change. They wait for motivation, inspiration, or the perfect moment. But real transformation doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel exciting in the beginning. It feels repetitive, predictable, and even boring. Yet those quiet routines, repeated daily, are what shape a life that cannot be shaken. Boring habits work because they remove emotion from progress. When actions are simple and scheduled, you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't ask how you feel. You act because it's time. This is where power begins, when effort no longer depends on mood. Over time, this creates stability, and stability creates confidence. Consistency is the force most people underestimate. Intensity looks impressive, but it burns out quickly. Consistency looks dull, but it keeps showing up. A small habit done daily becomes a system, and systems don't rely on willpower. They carry you forward even on tired days, busy days, and uncertain days. Structure often feels restrictive at first, but it quietly gives freedom back. When routines decide the basics of your day, your mind is free to focus on growth instead of chaos. You conserve mental energy. You make fewer decisions. You stop reacting and start directing your life with calm control. Discipline is not built through pressure or self-criticism. It's built through repetition so simple it feels impossible to fail. When habits are boring enough to be repeatable, they stick. Over weeks and months, those repetitions reshape identity. You no longer try to be disciplined, you become someone who is. Quiet routines also reduce mental noise. They ground the day. They create rhythm. In a world full of constant stimulation, boring habits act like anchors. They slow the mind, sharpen focus, and build emotional resilience without effort or drama. The truth is, long-term success is created in moments no one applauds. It's built in ordinary mornings, simple evenings, and unremarkable choices. While others chase shortcuts, boring habits compound quietly, stacking progress where no one is looking. By 2026, the people who feel unstoppable won't be the loudest or busiest. They will be the ones who trusted repetition over excitement, systems over motivation, and patience over speed. Their lives won't look dramatic, but they will be unshakable. Because in the end, boring habits don't just build better days. They build a life that keeps moving forward, no matter what. Most people believe progress depends on how they feel, but feelings are unstable and unreliable. Boring habits work because they remove emotion from decision-making entirely. When an action is planned in advance and repeated daily, it no longer requires excitement or inner debate. The mind stops asking whether today is the right day, whether energy is high enough, or whether motivation is present. The habit simply happens. This is powerful because emotional decision-making drains mental energy and creates inconsistency. When emotion is removed, progress becomes predictable, and predictability builds trust in oneself. Emotion often tricks people into overestimating what they can do in a short time and underestimating what they can do steadily. Boring habits eliminate this trap by focusing on repeatable behavior instead of dramatic effort. They turn growth into a routine rather than an event. Over time, this creates emotional stability because progress no longer feels fragile. Even on difficult days, the habit continues, and that continuity builds quiet confidence. Life begins to feel less chaotic and more controlled, not because circumstances improve, but because actions remain steady regardless of circumstances. Consistency is the second force that quietly transforms everything. Intensity looks impressive, but it is unreliable. It depends on bursts of energy that fade quickly. Consistency, however, is calm and persistent. A small action repeated daily may feel insignificant, but over weeks it becomes momentum, and over months it becomes identity. The brain adapts to what is repeated, not to what is attempted once. Consistent habits reshape neural pathways, making effort feel natural rather than forced. When consistency replaces intensity, progress stops feeling exhausting. There is no need to start over because nothing was abandoned. Each day builds on the previous one, creating a chain that becomes harder to break with time. This is how discipline is formed without struggle. Instead of pushing harder, the individual simply shows up again. Over a year, this approach outperforms short bursts of motivation by an overwhelming margin. By choosing boring habits and repeating them consistently, growth becomes inevitable rather than uncertain. Life stops depending on willpower and starts running on systems. And systems, once established, keep moving forward quietly, steadily, and relentlessly. Small daily actions appear insignificant because their impact is invisible in the moment. A few minutes of effort rarely feels meaningful, and that is why most people abandon it too early. Yet the real power of small habits lies in accumulation. When a simple action is repeated every day, it begins to stack quietly, much like interest that grows without being noticed. At first, nothing seems to change. Then one day, the results appear all at once, surprising those who stopped paying attention. The human mind is drawn to immediate reward, which makes slow progress feel unrewarding. Small habits challenge this instinct by delaying gratification. They train patience and trust in the process. Over time, this patience strengthens self-control and reduces the urge to chase quick fixes. The individual begins to understand that progress does not need to be dramatic to be real. It only needs to be consistent enough to continue. Compounding works not only on behavior but also on identity. Each small action sends a message to the brain about who you are becoming. One choice reinforces the next, and slowly a pattern forms. That pattern shapes belief, and belief shapes behavior. This is how small habits create large shifts without resistance. The change feels natural because it grows from repetition rather than force. Structure plays a quiet but essential role in sustaining this process. Many people fear structure because they associate it with limitation, but in reality, structure removes friction. When routines decide the basics of the day, the mind no longer wastes energy on constant choices. This reduction in decision-making creates clarity. With fewer mental distractions, focus deepens and stress softens. Structure also protects energy. It creates predictable rhythms that allow effort and rest to balance naturally. Instead of reacting to the day, the individual moves through it with intention. This sense of order builds calm confidence, not because life becomes easier, but because responses become more controlled. When structure supports small habits, freedom expands rather than contracts. Time opens up. Mental space increases. Creativity flows more easily because chaos is reduced. Progress becomes sustainable because it is supported by a system rather than sheer effort. Through small daily actions and simple structure, life begins to move forward steadily. Not through force, not through urgency, but through quiet momentum that continues to build beneath the surface. Discipline is often misunderstood as something that requires pressure, force, or extreme self-control. In reality, discipline is built through repetition, not struggle. When an action is repeated daily in a simple form, the brain begins to accept it as normal. There is no need for motivation because the habit no longer feels optional. It becomes part of the routine, much like brushing teeth or checking the time. This is how discipline forms quietly, without dramatic effort or internal conflict. Repetition reduces resistance. The first few attempts may feel uncomfortable, but with each repetition, the friction decreases. The mind learns that the task is not a threat, not exhausting, and not overwhelming. Over time, the action feels lighter, even automatic. This is why disciplined people often appear calm rather than intense. They are not fighting themselves. They are simply following patterns they have already practiced. Motivation fades quickly because it relies on emotion. Repetition lasts because it relies on rhythm. When habits are repeated long enough, they no longer require conscious control. This frees mental energy and builds trust in oneself. The individual stops questioning their ability to follow through because the evidence is already there, reinforced daily through action. Quiet routines play a powerful role in reducing mental chaos. Modern life constantly demands attention, creating noise that fragments focus and increases stress. When routines are simple and predictable, they act as anchors. They provide moments of stability in a fast-moving environment. The mind feels safer when it knows what comes next, and safety allows clarity to return. Reducing decision fatigue is one of the most overlooked benefits of routine. Every decision consumes mental energy, and too many decisions weaken self-control. Quiet routines eliminate unnecessary choices by deciding in advance. What to do, when to do it, and how long it will take are already settled. This preserves focus for meaningful work and thoughtful responses rather than impulsive reactions. As mental chaos decreases, emotional balance improves. Stress becomes manageable. Focus deepens. The day feels less rushed and more intentional. This shift does not come from doing more, but from doing less with greater consistency. Quiet routines create space for awareness, reflection, and steady progress. Through repetition and calm structure, discipline grows naturally and mental clarity strengthens. Not through force or pressure, but through simple actions repeated until they become part of who you are. Most of what shapes a successful life happens far away from attention and applause. The moments that truly matter are quiet, repetitive, and often unremarkable. Long-term progress is built in these ordinary spaces, where no one is watching and nothing feels urgent. While dramatic actions create short bursts of excitement, it is the unexciting moments that create lasting direction. Each small, responsible choice made in silence strengthens the foundation of the future. These moments test patience more than ability. It is easy to show effort when results are immediate, but it requires maturity to continue when progress feels invisible. This is where many people stop, not because they are incapable, but because they underestimate the power of staying consistent without external reward. Quiet effort trains resilience. It teaches the mind to value process over recognition and growth over validation. An unstoppable life is not built through constant struggle or endless activity. It is built when habits begin to run on autopilot. When actions become automatic, they no longer depend on energy or discipline. They simply occur. This shift reduces friction and removes the need for daily self-control. Life begins to feel smoother because fewer decisions require effort. Autopilot habits protect progress during difficult periods. When stress rises or motivation drops, systems continue to function. This is what creates stability. Instead of falling backward during challenging seasons, the individual remains grounded. Progress may slow, but it does not stop. That reliability builds quiet confidence over time. Automation also creates mental space. When the basics of health, learning, and focus are handled by routine, attention is freed for creativity, problem-solving, and meaningful connection. This is how growth becomes sustainable rather than exhausting. Effort is applied where it matters most, not wasted on restarting or recovering lost momentum. Unstoppable lives are not loud or chaotic. They are steady. They move forward even when conditions are imperfect. They are guided by systems rather than emotion and supported by habits rather than pressure. Over time, this steadiness compounds into strength. By trusting quiet moments and allowing habits to operate automatically, progress becomes resilient. Life continues to build forward, not in dramatic leaps, but in calm, reliable movement that carries strength beneath the surface.